Last year, I reviewed Disney's animated classic Pinocchio, along with its recent live action remake, which has now been nominated for some Razzies. But I'm going to talk about a film that I'm pretty sure a lot of y'all never knew existed, or a lot of y'all didn't like when it came out 35 years ago, which last month, was its 35th anniversary. Prepare yourself as I bring to you my review of a film from the guys who gave us He-Man, She-Ra, and Brave Star, Pinocchio, and the Emperor of the Night. Big D's! Entertainment rankings and reviews. So, greetings, my fellow YouTubers, and welcome to Big D's Entertainment Rankings and Reviews. My name is Doyle, better known to as the Big D, and this time around, I bring to you a review of the 1987 animated fantasy adventure flick, Pinocchio and the Emperor of the Night, released by New World Pictures and produced by Filmation. Now, this film was conceived as a sequel to the 1883 Italian classic novel The Adventures of Pinocchio, being set a year after Pinocchio became a real boy. It was also described by some as a thinly veiled sequel to Disney's 1940 classic. And Disney sued Filmation for copyright infringement, but Filmation won the lawsuit on the grounds that the work of the author of this, Carlo Collodi, was in the public domain. The film, however, does feature an all-star cast of voices and what have you, including Edward Asner, Lana Beeson, Tom Bosley, Linda Gary, who of course was one of the main big voice actors at Filmation at the time, Scott Grimes, Jonathan Harris, James Earl Jones, Ricky Lee Jones, no relation, Don Knotts, Frank Welker, and William Wyndham. Well, despite it did get dissed and what have you, and it didn't do so well, but it has gained a cult following. Now, I'm going to try not to give the whole story away because this film doesn't get a lot of talk about these days. Now, a bumblebee known as Lieutenant Grumblebee is woken from his sleep by the arrival of a large, sinister looking ship. A man named Puppetino, a puppet master, remarks that this is the ideal spot for a carnival. Stakes and ropes fly from the ship, and a circus tent forms as Grumblebee hastily leaves the area. A year after being made human by his fairy godmother, the Blue Fairy, Pinocchio celebrates his first birthday with Geppetto. The good fairy appears and teaches Pinocchio that love is his most powerful gift. She brings to life one of his own carvings, a winged glow bug, to act as Pinocchio's conscience. And Pinocchio, surprised, exclaims, "Gee Willikers!" And that's when the bug takes the name Willikers. After the party, Pinocchio offers to deliver a jewel box to the mayor for Geppetto. En route, he encounters Carmen, Sylvester J. Scalawag, the raccoon, and Agor, the monkey, who trick him into trading the box for the Pharaoh's ruby. And the ruby turns out to be a fake, and Geppetto is furious. And Pinocchio runs from home again. And so Pinocchio, well, looks for work at the carnival and is entranced by a blonde marionette named Twinkle, but is caught by Puppetino. Anyway, and that's all the story I'm going to give to you. Throughout the film, it kind of makes you feel like you're seeing a rehashing of the Disney classic, sort of. But I will tell you that the Emperor of the Night is pretty dark and scary. So you might want to be a little bit careful and what have you. Now, now before I get started, a lot of the reviews were terrible. Chicago Tribune labeled it as a wooden effort, and concluded there was little reason to bother with this, given that the genuine article is readily available on videotape. Yeah, years later, after this, it would get released on video cassette, but it has never been released on DVD, unfortunately. It has been overseas. And New York Times called it Saturday morning animation at best, and also compared it unfavorably with Disney's version. LA Times said that the script and direction lacked focus and failed to movie illustrates just how badly the American animated feature has degenerated. Yes, considering this was one of Filmation's last few works and what have you, after they had recently done their last animated series, Brave Star, that same year. And of course, they would follow up with Brave Star the Legend, the movie, which came out the next year, and then Happily Ever After, which they did unfortunately before they went bankrupt and would be released 4 years later. Yeah. Anyway, now one review was favorable that it does dazzle and sparkle in all the right places, and there is much to recommend the new film. Engaging story, likable characters, genuine tension and horror, reasonable songs, and terrific animation. Anyway, again, it's been described as a thinly veiled sequel to the classic. One reviewer noted its many similarities to the original and imagined legions of lawyers poring over every frame. Anyway, since the film's release, it has obtained a cult following. It opened on Christmas Day in 1987 and only went to make $3 million against its $10 million budget. Now, I do like the I do appreciate the voice acting and what have you. Now, voicing Pinocchio is Scott Grimes, who does a pretty good job. Voicing the Emperor of the Night is James Earl Jones, the voice of Darth Vader himself. Voicing the character of G. Willikers is funny man Don Knotts. Voicing Geppetto is Tom Bosley, who you know him best as Mr. Cunningham from Happy Days, and of course I believe at the time this was out. Give me a second. Well, not just yet. This was before he would later go on to play on Father Dowling Mysteries later on. Let's see, and well, of course, this wasn't the first time he lent his voice to animation. He also voiced Harry Boyle, Boyle, in Hanna-Barbera's Wait Till Your Father Gets Home. Now, voicing the Good Fairy is Ricky Lee Jones, who also sings the song Love is the Light Inside Your Heart. Which I'll get to the music in just a moment. Ed Asner, whom we sadly lost over a year ago, who most people know him from the Mary Tyler Moore Show and Lou Grant, excuse me, voices Sylvester J. Scalawag. Frank Welker, another voice acting god and what have you, voices Igor. Lon Beeson does the vocal effects for Twinkle. Linda Gary, again, voices, another Filmation voice actress, voices Beatrice, an anthropomorphic female bumblebee. Sorry for that sound. I apologize. You're gonna have to I'm gonna have to say I'm sorry for that. I don't know why in the con blooming world does that. Anyway, now voicing Lieutenant Grumblebee is Jonathan Harris, who most people know him best for playing Dr. Zachary Smith on TV's Lost in Space. And this wasn't the first time he worked with Filmation. He also played Basil Beerbaum in their 1975 show Uncle Croc's Block. He also played a character in a couple episodes of Arc 2 and also played Isaac Gampu on Space Academy. And William Wyndham voices Puppetino. Well, I think that name does sound familiar. He he was best known for playing Doctor Hazlitt on Murder She Wrote. Oh yes, that's who I thought. I actually know him best for playing Professor Lufkin in Disney's live action film Now You See Him, Now You Don't, the second film in the Dexter Riley trilogy, which of course was the sequel to the Computer Wore Tennis Shoes. So anyway, I don't really mind. Now again, some of the songs weren't too bad. Let's see. Lon Beeson sings the song "Do What Makes You Happy," which is good. And again, like I said, Love is the Lie Inside Your Heart is a good song. But the best song in this movie is easily You're a Star from Kid Creole. If you haven't, that's a song I would recommend you look it up. It's really good. This is probably one of the things that saves this movie from being such a big disappointment. I kind of actually do feel like it's an underrated film in ways. It does have some pretty good characters and what have you, and a pretty dark villain and what have you. While it may not be as good as the Disney classic itself, but it does have its moments and what have you. And anyway, of course, Filmation founder Lou Scheimer produced the film. So overall, would I recommend Pinocchio and the Emperor of the Night? Well, let me see. I'd say I'd only recommend this if you are a die-hard Filmation fan. You can find the full movie on YouTube. You can also find it on Pluto TV, as well as Amazon Prime's Freevee service and Tubi as well. So, but again, only if you are a hardcore Filmation fan. I watched it for the first time in a long time last year, and I've got to say it is pretty underrated in ways. So anyway, you be the judge. You might like it, you may not. You be the judge. So, if you've seen Pinocchio and the Emperor of the Night, let me know what you thought about the film in the comments section below. And if you like this video, click the like button, subscribe, and be a part of the Big D Nation. Join me next time when I bring to you a review of, of a recent film, Violent Night. Yes, I'm finally going to give you a review of this. So, thanks for watching, and if you like this, check out my reviews for these other Filmation films that I've already talked about. In the upper left-hand corner is my review on their first film, Journey Back to Oz. In the upper right-hand corner is my review of Mighty Mouse in the Great Space Chase. Or go to the bottom left-hand corner and see my review of Brave Star the Legend. Now, I will review Happily Ever After later on this week. And the bottom right-hand corner is the button you can click to subscribe. If you like rankings and reviews on movies, TV, music, video games, etc., then I'm your guy. Excuse me. Thanks for watching. Until next time, I'm the Big D saying, see ya.